What if the greatest fear many people over 60 carry ending up in a nursing home is built on an assumption that was never fully examined? What if the belief that there are only two options, living completely alone or moving into institutional care, is missing a critical third path that most families never hear about? And what if the reason so many seniors feel trapped by this decision has nothing to do with health, but with habits and systems formed decades earlier? The clues are scattered across medical research, housing data, and real lives, but the full picture rarely gets assembled. Something important is missing, and it changes everything. For most of the last century, aging policy in the United States followed a simple model. You lived independently, then, when that became too hard, you moved into a nursing facility. This made sense when life expectancy was shorter and chronic disease progressed faster. But researchers at the National Institute on Aging began questioning this model in the 1990s when they noticed a contradiction. Many adults over 65 didn't need constant medical care, yet their health declined rapidly after institutionalization. Studies comparing outcomes showed higher rates of depression, faster cognitive decline, and reduced mobility among seniors who moved into nursing homes earlier than medically necessary. The mystery was why. To understand how people end up believing nursing homes are the only answer, you have to go back to early adulthood. In their 20s and 30s, most Americans organize life around independence. According to U.S. Census data, fewer than 5% of adults under 35 live in shared or multi-generational housing. Independence becomes not just a lifestyle, but an identity. People learn to manage everything alone: finances, meals, decisions. This works well for decades, but it plants a seed. When independence finally becomes harder later in life, many people assume the only alternative is total dependence. The middle ground was never practiced. Then the 40s arrive, and changes begin quietly. This is the decade when responsibilities pile up. Careers peak. Caregiving for parents often begins. According to AARP surveys, nearly half of adults in their 40s provide some form of unpaid care. During this time, people become problem solvers for others, but rarely plan systems for themselves. Housing choices stay the same, social circles shrink slightly, support becomes informal and reactive rather than intentional. The idea of shared living or structured support still feels unnecessary, almost like failure. But this is when the future options quietly narrow. After 65, the shift becomes more serious and most people ignore it. Physical stamina decreases, driving may become harder. Medical appointments increase. The CDC reports that over 60% of adults over 65 manage at least two chronic conditions. Yet many still live in homes designed for a younger body and a single-person system. Stairs become hazards. Isolation increases. Small difficulties pile up until daily life feels fragile. This is the moment when the nursing home enters the conversation not as a choice, but as a looming threat. But here's the twist most people never hear. At this stage, the majority of seniors still do not need nursing-level care. They need structure, proximity, and light support, not institutions. The breaking point usually comes suddenly: a fall, a hospitalization. A family member says, "You can't live alone anymore." According to Medicare data, hospital discharges are the most common trigger for nursing home placement. Decisions are rushed, fear is high, and because no alternative plan exists, institutional care feels inevitable. This is where the problem becomes visible, not because the senior has lost all ability, but because the system has no buffer. Independence collapses into dependence overnight. The fallout can be severe. Health outcomes often worsen. Studies published in gerontology journals show that seniors placed in nursing homes earlier than necessary experience faster functional decline. Financially, costs are staggering. The average U.S. nursing home now exceeds $90,000 per year, quickly draining savings and limiting future options. Lifestyle changes are equally dramatic. Schedules become rigid. Personal autonomy shrinks. Social connections weaken. Across millions of seniors, The same regret appears in surveys. I wish I had known there was another way. So why don't more people take that other path? Because of failed fixes rooted in old advice. Some families try rotating caregiving among relatives, which often leads to burnout and resentment. Others hire piecemeal help without coordination, creating gaps and safety risks. Some seniors move in with adult children without clear boundaries, straining relationships. These approaches fail because they are reactive, not designed. They treat support as an emergency measure instead of a living system. The missing option, the one hiding in plain sight, is intentional supported living outside of nursing homes. This includes shared housing with peers, accessory dwelling units, co-housing communities, and coordinated in-home support models. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that seniors in these environments maintain better mobility, stronger social ties, and higher life satisfaction than those in institutional care. The cause and effect chain is clear. When support is built into daily life rather than imposed, autonomy remains intact. Today, this matters more than ever. The U.S. population over 65 is growing rapidly, and surveys show that over 75% of seniors want to age in place, but not alone. The problem isn't desire, it's awareness and preparation. So, what can you do today if you're over 60 and worried about living alone? First, map your support needs realistically, not just medical, but daily tasks like meals, transportation, and companionship. This clarity prevents rushed decisions later. Second, explore shared or supported living options now, while choice is still yours. Visiting, learning, and planning early expands options instead of shrinking them. Third, involve trusted people in long-term planning conversations before a crisis forces action. Systems built calmly work better than decisions made in fear. Here's the warning. Based on evidence, waiting for a health emergency to plan housing dramatically increases the likelihood of unwanted nursing home placement. Studies show rushed transitions lead to poorer outcomes and fewer choices. And here's the open thought to hold until the next video. If independence doesn't have to mean isolation, what other assumptions about aging might be quietly limiting your future? If you want the next chapter where we explore real alternatives seniors are using right now, subscribe and turn on notifications.